Welcome into a 7-round mock draft for the LA Rams. This is an interesting one. The Rams are so close to being a really, really special football team. Obviously, last year, just a couple plays away from taking down the Eagles in the playoffs. I think, look, obviously, Stafford nearing the end of his career. We're going to get into it. Let's go ahead and talk about the LA Rams draft class. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. Let's see where we end up. Rams have a lot of different places they could go here, and it's definitely an interesting spot. First thing I want to talk about, I do think tackle is a huge need. I think tackle in this spot is absolutely a must pick. Josh Connerly at 26 overall. He's probably at the top of my list. He's the best tackle in this class, or excuse me, he's not the best tackle in this class. He's the best tackle on the board. He is, in my opinion, the only other tackle left on this board that should be a first-round pick. Zabel is definitely a first-round pick for me as well. Even Tyler Booker, both these guys are guards. I know Zabel played tackle at North Dakota State. He's gonna move inside to guard. But if we didn't go tackle, and I just want to play out kind of the rest of the situation, like tight end Colston Loveland, if he's here, it'd be tough to say no to him. I will say I think the Rams just do such a good job of grabbing the skill position players, especially wide receiver later in the draft, and I definitely will be considering wide receiver as well. They have Tutu Atwell, they have Jordan Whittington. I would not mind upgrading those pieces, but we can find those guys. I mean, obviously Puka Nacua, 5th-round pick, so we can find those guys far later in this draft class, and we have picks. We have 2/3, a 4th, and 4 sixes. So we definitely have some depth in this class. Trading down is definitely something that I think the Rams would seriously consider from the spot. Really just because, obviously, if you feel like you could get Connerly a little later, you feel like you could get one of these cornerbacks a little bit later. Siobhan Ravel would be a guy that I would love the Rams to grab. Even safety would be a position that I would consider in the second round. There's going to be some good safeties there as well. The South Carolina kid is a guy that I think the Rams would probably like. I mean, he's just got all the measurables. And then, of course, you get farther down the line. There's good safeties in this class. Again, another position. Rams are really, really good at finding these types of picks later on. And linebacker, again, we're definitely not taking any of the linebackers that are still on the board here. Carl Schwessinger, if we can grab him in the second round, that would be cool. And then after that, I'm not as deep on the linebacker class as I am pretty much every other position group in this class. So I will be, I'm never going to lie to you guys. I'm never going to bullshit you guys, but I know, I've gotten through the majority of the class. Linebacker position group is definitely not one of the position groups I focused on when I was kind of going down the line. Unfortunately for the Rams, well, not unfortunately, they nailed their first 2 picks last year. The defensive line is definitely a position of strength in this class, and it's just not a position that I think we really need to focus on, even though, there's just a ton of value in this class at that position group. So just kind of going down all the positions that I'm going to be thinking about throughout this class, let's look at trades. Let's consider a trade here. The way I do trades on this, I will absolutely trade, but I will only trade with the picks that teams are suggesting, and it has to make sense. It has to be logical. Now, Pittsburgh Steelers, 83 overall, that doesn't really make any sense to me. And when I say it has to make sense, it has to make sense for both teams. The Commanders want to move up from 29 to 26. First of all, that's not going to cost that much. And second of all, if they're trading up, I could make an argument that they'd be trading up for a James Pierce Jr. There's a tier gap there, or at least there's a perceived tier gap there between him and the next guy, or Derek Harmon. I think the trade up from here from 29 to 26, I could make an argument that makes sense for Washington. Whatever they actually do on this app is kind of irrelevant. Like, they can do whatever the PFF lets them do, or that's not really the point. It just has to make sense in real life for me. That's kind of the way I look at it. What would that cost? What would that cost? I mean, I don't see why it would cost more than, I think it would be a pick swap later on. I think we would get 128 and they would get 190. I think this isn't too far of a move. This doesn't give you that much more. It gives us back-to-back picks. What is that going to be, the 4th round? So there's value there, but not anything groundbreaking by any means. That's okay. I think I can work with this. This feels like something that could happen in real life. and it gives us back-to-back picks in the fourth. It'll be interesting. Why not? Because I do think pretty much all the guys that we still want are going to still be on the board. Let's resume the draft. So we move back. The safety went off the board. That's out of South Carolina. He's probably going to go first round. I like that. I think that's fine. So trade up for Derek Harmon. At least as far as the real world, I like Derek Harmon enough to move up a couple spots for him. I don't hate that at all. Rams are definitely a team that's going to try and move back. So I wanted to grab some realism there. I think we're going to go tackle. I think pretty much every other position of need, tight end, linebacker, corner, safety, wide receiver 3, and again, I don't know for sure that they were definitely drafted wide receiver, running back, all of those positions we can address later on. We miss on tackle in the first round. I just don't know who's going to be there in the third that you're not feeling good about. Connor Lee can start. And help out, protect Matthew Stafford from day one. So we're going to go ahead and do that. All right, and as we get into the third round, we can do a lot of different things. Now we have 2 picks in the third. We have 90 and 101, so we can kind of stack these picks. I do think, look, there's a lot of places we can go with it. I think cornerback probably going to be willing to wait. The difference between a Dorian Strong and Noel Williams isn't that far for me, and we have multiple picks in the fourth, 127 and 126, 128. I would imagine we're going to use one of those on a corner. We're going to have to add some athletes on the back end. Now, safety is a little bit more interesting to me, and I absolutely would love the idea of grabbing a safety. Kevin Winston Jr., very, very popular name in this range for me. I've mocked him to a couple different teams in this part of the draft. And he's a great player coming off an injury. I think he could be special. You're getting a major discount because of the injury. And if he's still here, yeah, you're going to consider that. Down the line, there's still some really good names. Mukuba is really Mukuba. Sorry, I always struggle with his last name. Is a good safety. Ransom is a good safety. Castrello, Bowman Jr. is another name that I really like deeper down the line. So all these names, look, we're good on safety, and I like some of those pieces a whole lot. Savion Williams is a name to the Rams that I think the Rams would love Savion Williams. I do. Now, Savion Williams is all traits. He is not a wide receiver. He is just big, fast, explosive athlete that, has trouble catching the ball at times. And I literally at TCU, they had him running wildcat quarterback because they just had to get the ball in his hands. And he wasn't much of a route runner. He wasn't really capable of being, a complete wide receiver. Percy Harvin kind of style. And look, this is where I think he probably should go. Now, there's rumors that he's going to go somewhere in the second round. So if he were to be here, I think the Rams would really consider it. I think this is a pick. This is kind of a sneaky pick that fits what I think the Rams really like. Now, it'd be early on the position, and we'd definitely be, passing up on some other spots, but we're going to consider that. Savion Williams is absolutely on our board. If we look at linebacker, Jeffrey Bassa is a guy that I think the Rams would like. Rams don't scream a team that has certain size thresholds for specific positions. How big is he? 6'2", 235, so he's not small. On the bigger side for a safety, but he was a small linebacker. He moved from safety to linebacker this past season, and yeah, he'll throw his body around. He's good in coverage, kind of going to be that type of guy, but I think the Rams would like him, and again, it's the mentality thing for me. The way he plays the game is, in my opinion, the right way to play the game. He plays with no fear, plays with no assurances, just a firecracker, shot out of a cannon type of guy. Really fun to watch, really interesting style for a smaller guy to play with. You got to love that. You got to love that kind of energy that he brings. And yeah, I do think the Rams would really consider him as well. Guys, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to take Savion Williams here. I really like the fit for the Rams and Savion Williams. We moved back. We have an extra pick, so we can still address all of the bigger needs. Obviously, this isn't a huge need. Now, Davante Adams is not going to be on this football team for, that much longer, so absolutely addressing the wide receiver position it's going to be a concern. So we're going to take Savion Williams here with the 90th overall pick. That's probably early for my ultimate rankings, but I do think it fits what the Rams would really do, like what the Rams actually would feel about the position. With that, we have some options. All right, so there are 3 safeties that are right here on the board, all very good players, and I do think secondary is a position that we got to address. I think we got to consider this part of the draft. Now, it could be corner with a pick in our 4th round, or it could be safety now. I do really want to grab Bassa out of Oregon. I do think that's a good player as well. We just wide receiver. I don't think I'm going to worry about quarterback here. Yeah, Noah Williams is a guy that I do think I want to wait on and grab in the 4th round if we can. And then running back is going to be interesting. Running back later in this class is going to be a position that I'm strongly going to consider. But all right, as I've kind of talked it through, I do think I'm going to add the linebacker. I think linebacker's a need for them. They got to add another piece there, and I think Bassa does all the things that the Rams are going to like out of him. All right, and now we have back-to-back picks in the 4th round. This was part of the trade down. We traded down a couple picks. We're missing now a 6th round pick, but we had plenty. And now we got 2 fourths. First of all, in real life, I think the Rams could go a million different ways with this. I don't think they're locked into absolutely addressing any of their biggest needs. They can pass on that. I also think, I'm looking at tight end right now. The Rams are going to grab the Rams are going to grab somebody I've never heard of, and he'll be an all-pro. Like, I feel like that's just the thing that they'll do. We missed on all of the top tight end names. Couple guys here that I like, couple guys here that I have not watched and I'm not super familiar with, other than just hearing their name said a couple times. So I probably gonna pass on tight end. We added Savion Williams as another weapon for that offense, and Tyler Higbee and Colby Parkinson are still on the roster, so it's not like that's a desperate need. So I think I'm gonna move on from really stressing the cornerback spot, or the tight end spot, excuse me. With that said, I do want to look at cornerback here. I'm gonna end up taking Noah Williams here. I think he has some real man-to-man cover corner skills. I really do. And athleticism isn't elite by any means, but he's physical. I just love the physical guys. I think he plays the position the right way. I think he's going to be kind of a tough guy to rattle, I guess, at the next level. And yeah, I could see him getting into an NFL camp and really turning heads with the way he approaches the position, the physicality that he brings to the table. Athleticism is just so-so. If the athleticism was great, we'd be talking about a borderline 1st round pick, in my opinion, or maybe 2nd. So you were getting a deal on him because, yeah, the athleticism isn't special, but he just got something there, man. He's got something there. I like him. We're going to take him, and then we're going to go. Where are we going to go here? And guys, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to have to cut a little bit. I was just kind of going around thinking about the different position groups that I wanted to go. Noah Williams was a guy that I really felt good about falling. The next pick, I wasn't 100% sure where I wanted to go. Crenshaw Dixon is a guy who's big tackle out of Florida. And his movement skills isn't great. I don't know how great his anchor is, but he's just got the traits, and you'd be betting on traits in the 4th round. I wouldn't hate that. Now, we already grabbed a tackle. We'd be adding another one. Again, you can't have too many, all right? So I think good teams take guys like this earlier than you expect because you can develop them. You can afford to wait on them, and this is why'd you trade down. You traded down in the 1st, and you were able to get 2 tackles. That makes a lot of sense to me. The other place that makes a whole lot of sense to me is safety. And look, I love Billy Bowman Jr. He's one of my favorite safety prospects in this class. I consider him a guy who should probably go a little earlier than he ultimately will. I also consider him a guy who fits the Rams. Again, smaller, all right? The size is definitely going to be a question. I think Billy Bowman Jr. is an LA Ram, and I like him a lot. I've mocked him to a couple different teams, I'll be honest, but I keep going back and forth. I'm like, no, this is the guy. This is clearly one of the better players in this class. I think we're adding another guy to our secondary. We spent multiple picks on the secondary in the 4th round. If we could do what the Chargers did last year with their 2 5th-round corners, we'd be doing it a round earlier, but, I mean, hey, they're both in LA. There's some symmetry there. Let's go ahead and do it. I just believe in this, and I think we had to add athletes on the back end of that secondary roster for the Rams. Look, I mean, how many players can you name as a Rams fan that you're watching this? How many players can you name that are in the secondary for the Rams right now? Because I follow the sport about as close as anybody I've ever met, and I didn't know more than a couple, and I only knew them because they were drafted recently. But in the 6th round, we're gonna have a couple picks here in the 6th round. With the 95th pick, I think I'm gonna take Caden Priscorn out of Ole Miss. This is a guy who I do think goes a little bit earlier than this, but he's big, he's huge. He's huge. Movement skills aren't really what you'd want him to be. That's why he's going to be available in this spot. But he does have good ball skills. I think he moves okay. He just doesn't have any kind of special athleticism. But I don't think he's not a clunky mover for me. At least for his size, I wasn't unimpressed by that aspect of his game. So we're going to go with that. And then with this pick, I do want to look at running back. Obviously, we have Blake Corum. He was getting, it seemed like a drive, maybe 2 drives a game down the stretch. So that seems to be how the Rams like to approach the running back room. They let one guy kind of handle the load, and then they sub him out. With that kind of thought, Tajay Brooks is a name that I do think makes a lot of sense. He's jitterbug, explosive, will make you miss. Not gonna be super impactful as far as breaking tackles or anything like that. But he has a little bit to him. Woody Marks here from USC, similar type of guy, a little bit more. I think he's a little bit more explosive than Tajay Brooks. Honestly, I think I like him a little bit more. But I think really you got to go Jordan James as far as a guy that has a good blend of size and speed, and a guy who I think can legitimately hold up as the type of running back that I think the Rams would target. This makes a lot of sense to me. He's on the smaller side, 5'10", but he's thick. He has some size to mass to his lower half, and yeah, I mean I think he's an all around good player. I think he goes a little bit earlier than this, but we're gonna go ahead and grab him. And then with this last pick, I'm gonna go a little weird. I've been kind of sitting here thinking about it. I'm gonna go Jackson here. This Razorback was a former quarterback turned running back. Has the athleticism, has the ball skills, but I mean he's raw, very raw at the position. But he's big. I mean, he's like, what, 6'1", 6'2"? Okay, yeah, 6'2", 233. That's kind of my thought process for this. I would have liked, actually, Ollie Gordon, who went off the board. I just wanted to add a little bit of size to a room that doesn't really have much in that part of the running back room, and there's not a ton of size there. A lot of 5'10", quick feet type of running backs that you have there. So we're just adding a different type of player to the position group. And look, this class is special. This running back class is special, so I do think adding as many names as we can to that room, let's do it, especially late. We didn't spend premium picks by any means there, so adding back-to-back running backs late, just kind of a fun way to end this exercise of guys that I do think are going to be at least on the Rams board at the very least, and I think I have a really good shot of going there. Let's go ahead and look at this class overall. I think we addressed what my biggest need coming into this class was Josh Conerly in the first round. And look, I have a style, all right? I have a way that I like to address the draft. And for me, I went into this draft, I thought the Rams needed to address the secondary. I thought they needed to address the wide receiver / tight end position group. I thought both were important, but I was really just more interested in adding a little bit more of a pass catching weapon. Davante Adams is obviously older. They're paying him. Puka Nacua is the star of the show at the wide receiver position. So we're just adding pieces that I think can complement. So I was never going to address it early. Savion Williams in the 3rd round was about as early as I was going to go. And then we grabbed one late in the 6th that I think has some potential. He's big. He can move a little bit. We'll see what happens there. I really wanted to add somebody to the room. We had to add a piece at tight end to the room. I wasn't super worried about getting one early, and just the way the board fell, it didn't go our way for tight end. And then again, secondary. I doubled up in secondary. I doubled up on running back. I really do believe in that. I almost added another lineman. There was a point in the draft where I really considered going offensive line again. I think the Rams would do well to do that, but we added Conerly, and I think he fills the role. He's the guy on this draft that is the immediate day one starter. I think Billy Bowman Jr. is going to get on the field. I think Jeffrey Bassa probably going to get on the field very early. Beyond that, you got a handful of depth guys and guys that are going to develop into a role. And hey, that's a great draft. That's a great combination. You have to have some guys that you can at least expect to make a big difference year one, and then you want to have some guys that we're a development league. And the Rams are a good team. They're the type of team that's going to take swings. They're going to come up to the plate, and they're going to swing for the fences on a couple of these picks. And I think we got some guys that have a really good chance of being home runs. All right, guys, that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy draft content, why not like and subscribe? So support a small channel. It really means a lot. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.